Welcome back to Sports Fans Only with your host KJ and Sean Mack. And K, you know how we do it. We into the list. We into the fabulous 5, the fabulous 10. So let's get into it. I was sitting there thinking about it, and I thought about all of the coaches that has won championships. And I thought about the coaches that are great that didn't win championships. And the more I thought, I'm like, hey, we got to talk about this. So let's go. We have the top 5 coaches, in our opinion, who never won a championship or who prevented their teams from winning championships. I'm going to go with number 1. You ready?
Let's go. Let's get it.
Number 1, Marv Levy. He coached 11 and a half years with the Bills. He had a record of 112-70. 4 straight Super Bowl appearances with no wins. So what do you got to say about Marv Levy?
Oh, man. When you first told me we were going to do this segment and I was thinking about different coaches, I can't believe that he wasn't the first one that popped up in my mind. As a matter of fact, whoever we mentioned during this segment, I don't think they could top Marv Levy just for the simple fact that they had 4 cracks at it. Not only did they have 4 cracks at it, it was 4 times in a row, consecutive years. I don't think there's another coach that can. Now, I want to pause, and I don't want to say he's the reason why they lost.
See, this is why this list is very controversial, because people were gonna say, well, he's a great coach. Well, my question to them would be, what great coach gets to a Super Bowl 4 times and don't win?
None. I think he's the only one to ever do that.
So what would be what's the factor here? That was the same team pretty much every year, right?
The main pieces: Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed,
Bruce Smith, Talley.
Bruce Smith. Who's the guy with the? You said Talley, right?
Yeah.
Him. The white receiver. I think
BB.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, those guys were the foundation of that team, and they didn't go anywhere. They were there for all 4.
See what I'm saying? So when you get past the players, all of them were great players. I think you named a few Hall of Famers, 3 if I'm not mistaken. Kelly, Thurman, and Bruce Smith.
Bruce Smith, yeah. Reed didn't make it. Yeah, I think he'll make it eventually, but no.
Yeah, he would make it. Andre Reed will make it. So my question is, who else can you blame? If he was coaching in today's time with the pressure that they have now from the social media and these talk shows, it would be Marv Levy. It's his fault.
You would have to. You would have to blame it on him, considering that they were an offensive juggernaut. All 4 of those years, up until they got to the Super Bowl, they were offensive juggernauts. And for whatever reason, you're right. That goes back to coaching. For whatever reason, when they got to the biggest game, on the biggest stage in NFL, they couldn't do it. They were choke. They choke artists. Really.
They choke. And what really lets me know it was him, he could not get his team in between the championship game, the conference championship game, in the Super Bowl. He could not get his team ready to play. That falls on him, squarely on Marv Levy.
Definitely does. He's the head coach. Now, somebody might be able to blame the offensive coordinator or the defensive. They all.
Well, even then, as the head coach, you have to say, yo, if this didn't work the last 2 years, we're going to try different year 3.
Yeah.
And if not 3, year 4. One of these times you got to do something different.
Yeah, and they didn't. It seemed like every year did they get blown out except for that first one against the Giants.
Everything else was a blowout.
Everything else was a blowout. Now, I think that started them missing that field goal. Well, let's say they make that field goal. Do they go on to win more than just that one?
They win one more at least.
I think so too, because I think their confidence would have been so high coming off that Super Bowl, which was a great game, by the way.
Yeah.
That Super Bowl right there, that was a great Super Bowl. I think their confidence would have been so high and at such a high level that that would have propelled them to at least one. So I definitely agree with you.
They were so much better than that Giants team. I mean, just so much better.
At every position, it seemed like.
Yeah, everywhere.
Receiver,
but
running back.
Coaching.
Bill Parcells, the big tuna.
Got him. All right.
And, so let's move on to the next one.
Number 2, we're going to go from the world of the NBA. We're going to go with Scott Brooks. He coached from 2000 and he coached from 2008 to 2015. He had a record of 338 and 206. This is only with OKC. He made it to the playoffs 5 straight times.
Wow. Yeah, that's a and the reason why I think he deserves to be there. Now I'm going to give you another name after I talk about Scott Brooks.
Okay.
The whole OKC having that team and not doing nothing with it. Now, granted, he made it to the finals against Miami, but not doing anything with that team with that much talent, especially that first year when they had Harden, Durant, and West. I understand they were young.
Yeah.
They still made it to the final. They were beating everybody that year.
Yeah.
I mean, they slaughtered the Spurs in the playoff. I mean, they ran through a bunch of teams. So he's definitely a good pick. I would say that George Karl, I think you can put him up there because he multiple teams where he either just missed going to the finals, like when he was with Milwaukee when they had Ray Allen and everybody.
Yeah.
Didn't they go to Game 7 and they lost to go to the finals?
To who?
That's when they
the
had
Bulls?
Glenn Robinson. Who was it? I'm trying to think. Was it New Jersey? It was definitely in the early 2000s.
It might have been the Jersey teams that made it to the championships against the Lakers and the Spurs.
That's what I'm thinking. Either them or Indiana.
Yeah.
It was probably one of those two teams. So who would you pick between those two? I know I kind of threw you a curveball because I threw
out of George.
You can't really blame him for losing to Jordan and them.
No, and for the most part in his career, he got more out of his team than what they were supposed to do. If you take away the Sonics teams.
Denver, can't forget Denver too when he had Melo when they went to a game.
Yeah, but
go to Game 7.
Who did he have?
He had Melo.
Exactly.
That's true. Now, I know you watched The Last Dance, and Gary Payton said, now, whether this would have made any difference is beyond me. But do you remember when Gary Payton said that, what did he say? He said that he doesn't know if it would have made a difference, but he thinks George Karl should have put him on Jordan from the very first game.
Yeah, George Karl, he agreed with it. He did an interview afterwards, and he said he agreed, but his thinking at that time was he didn't want to start the series with GP in foul trouble, which I totally understand.
Definitely understandable. I mean, you can, but how do you not put your best defensive player on the best offensive player?
Yeah, because they lost 4-2, so that decision would have had to been made Game 2 in order for it to really work.
Yeah.
And I think he did in Game 5. Yeah, they could have won one more game. I think you throw GP on Jordan Game 1, maybe second quarter. Try to throw them off. Don't come out with it. Second quarter.
So be more tactical is what you're saying.
Be more tactical in your approach and the coaching because you got remember you're dealing with Phil Jackson, so you got to try to out-zen him.
Very true. Very true. Okay, yeah, I couldn't think of anybody else on the NBA level. Oh,
I have one more. I have 2 more people to go, and one's from the NBA.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Number 3, technically 3, Rick Adelman, coached 8 seasons at the Kings, record of 395 wins, 229 losses, and he made the playoffs in all 8 seasons, and he got to a conference finals once. Wow. That team is more talented than a lot of teams that actually won a championship.
You know what? That team kind of mirrored the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah.
They kind of definitely mirrored because Chris Webber, you could say, was their Duncan. Bibby could have been their Parker.
Yeah.
Stojakovic was kind of like their Ginobili in a way.
Yep.
They had a bunch of good role players. That team was stacked, and it just sucks that they had to run into the Lakers.
Yeah. And they got a little help, but Lakers were my team. But his coaching had to be an issue at one point. Why can't you get over the hill? I know you had the Lakers there. It seemed like Rick Adelman would stay with his game plan no matter what.
Yeah, you're right. No matter what's going on, he's like, it's been working. He's kind of like the guy from and he's another one that might get on this list at some point. The